I'm going to be telling you every single thing you need to know to start selling on Depop. Plus, I'll be sharing a lot of things that are going to help you do it the right way so you can start making sales fast. If you want to jump to a certain part or a certain step, look in the description. I will have detailed timestamps. I will be referencing a lot of tools and other videos I've done in the past for beginner resellers. Links to all of that will also be in the description. The first step to start selling on Depop is to set up your shop the right way. In this step, we're going to be going over all of the settings you need to know about, but also how to customize your shop so that it matches your niche and the vibe you're going for. To do that, I am going to be showing you on the Depop app, so make sure you have it downloaded already if you want to follow along. Later, when we get to the creating listing part, I will go to my computer, and that way you're able to see both the app and the web version of Depop. There are some functions that are only available on the phone, and then there's some other things that are a lot easier to do on the computer, so it's important to know how to use and navigate both. Right behind the window that's in front of me here, there is a park. So if you hear kids having fun out there, I'm sorry. Hopefully it's not too distracting. The Depop app is a pretty simple, minimalist type app. It's very easy to understand how to use, but I'm just going to be going over some of the main areas you'll probably be visiting a lot throughout the day to make and manage your sales. The first tab that we have here is that little house looking button at the bottom left hand corner. That's kind of like a For You page, a customized feed based on your browsing history, on things you've looked at before and clicked into before. That's what that's going to be about. And this second tab here, this magnifying glass, is also another way for you to shop around and to look at things based on like curated categories. Those first two tabs are more for shopping. It's these last three tabs that you're going to be using a lot as a seller. This house icon in the middle is like your seller hub. Here's where you will go to see all of your sold items, items you have listed for sale right now. You'll be able to list an item from here as well. There's that black button that says list an item, and it will take you straight to the description page. But as I said, we are going to go over this part on my computer later. But if you are going to be listing from your phone, that's where you would do that. Here you can also see drafts of your listings. You can boost your listings. Boost basically means to promote your items. If you click into here, you can select which items you want to promote so that you can promote a lot of them at once, but you can also promote each one individually as you're creating your listings. And again, we'll talk more about that in a lot of detail later on in the video. Here you can also see offers you get on your items, and I hope this never happens to you, but if you ever get a case opened against you, here in the resolution center is where you'll be able to see updates on that. And lastly, here at the bottom we have your shop settings. All of this is going to be personal preference, so just click into each one of those and adjust things to fit your needs. If you look at the top here of this page, there is another tab called payments. Here's where you're going to go see the status of your earnings and everything, and we are going to go over this page in a lot of detail in the last step where I talk about getting paid on Depop. And then this next tab here is the messages tab, and this one is pretty obvious. Here's where you will come to communicate with buyers, answer any questions they may have. But also at the top you can see that there's two more tabs. We have buying offers, so this is offers you make to other people on something you want to buy. When they respond to you, here's where you will see it. But the most important tab to me here on this page is the selling offers tab, and here's where you will see offers people make to you on the items you are selling. And for that reason, this is the page I visit most often throughout the day, the messages tab, because I can come here and do both things at the same time, answer any customer questions and check on any offers that I have received. There is a red number 1 at the top that tells me that I have one offer pending, so I'm just going to scroll until I find it. Right here it says 1 to review. I'm going to click on that offer so that I can see what it is. I have the shoes listed for $20. She's offering me $16. Those shoes did have a flaw that I didn't notice at the store, so I'm just going to go ahead and accept it because I rather just get rid of it now instead of wait for a better offer to come along. To do that, I'm going to click accept, but if you wanted to counter, you can tap on that and then tell her what you would like click instead. I'm going to X out of this though. And if you don't want to accept the offer at all, you can just tap decline. But for me, as I said, I'm going to accept this offer, and now she will be notified. And if she goes through with the payment, then I will ship out the item. Offers aren't binding. Just because you accept it doesn't mean the sale is made. You have to wait for her to pay for the item. Aside from that messages tab, the other place I visit the most often throughout the day is that little man icon right there. When you tap on it, it's going to take you to your profile page. We're going to take it right from the top. The first thing up there is a bell icon. Here's where you're going to get all the notifications about all the activity going on in your account. When something sells, but also when someone likes your item. Likes are a very important notification because it gives you the ability to send people offers, so you don't have to wait for them to send you offers. And that is a great sales strategy to use on Depop. Price your item just a little bit higher than what you want to get for it. That way you have room to send out offers when someone likes your item, or to accept reasonable offers when someone sends one your way. I have one like right now that I need to send an offer to. I'm going to tap on that black button, and then here you just put whatever you want the offer to be. Normally I give about a 20% discount on my items. So for this one right here, I'd send an offer for about $27. If I've had the item for a very long time, then I'll offer a little bit more of a discount. I'm going to click done, send the offer, and again, this buyer will be notified of my offer. They can accept, decline, or ignore it if they want to, but this offer will only be available to them for the next 24 hours. I'm going to click this back button to go back to the profile page. At the top, there are two more tabs you can switch between on your profile, but those two are more for shopping purposes. What I want to go over now is this bottom part, starting with your username. Best practices when it comes to a username for your shop is to keep it minimal, simple, easy to read. Don't use too many letters or too many special characters. That way it's easy for people to remember it, and it's easy for you to promote on other places, on other social media platforms. If you already have a good idea of the type of items you're going to be posting or the overall theme that your shop is going to be about, you can make your name represent that. For example, I saw a shop named Almost New Shoes or something like that. A username like that tells me exactly what that shop is all about. So if I'm looking for shoes that are cheap but almost new, then that's where I would go. Some people also use their city in their username, and they'll name their shop something like Texas Finds. That's also a cool way to go about it. So those are some things just to start giving you some ideas. You do want to be intentional about it and think long term when you're picking your username, but you don't have to overthink it too much just yet. If you don't have something specific you'd like to go with, just pick something for now, because Depop does let you change it. Along with a good username here, you also want to have a good profile picture. You can do a picture of yourself like I have, but if you don't want to do that, you can also create a logo type picture using something like the graphic design software Canva. They have lots of templates for you to just customize with your shop's name. Then right here in the bio, what you want to do is write out a short description that will give potential buyers a quick snapshot of what your shop is all about. You can talk about what you're going to sell, like the type of items or the aesthetic you're going to be listing if you're going more of the curated route. You can also talk about your shop policies or your shipping times, just anything that tells them what to expect if they decide to follow you or buy from you. And to edit all of that stuff we just talked about, what you're going to do is tap on this gear looking icon at the top right hand side, tap on profile, and here's where you can go to change your username if you want, to edit the email address you have associated with your account. Make sure this email address is one that you see every day, because that's where you'll get notifications about important things about your account, like when you make sales, when someone opens up a return, turn. In this About Me section, you can tap on this square here on the right hand side, and here's where you'll upload your profile picture, whether it's a picture of yourself or a logo you created with Canva. Here we have the bio section where you'll write out a short description about your shop, and if you'd like to add a website to your profile, you can do that right here. When you're done editing all of this stuff, go ahead and tap save. And now that you know how to set up your shop the right way, we can move on to step number 2, and that is to get stuff to sell on Depop. In this step, I am going to go over a few ideas on where to find your inventory, but first I want to talk about what Depop allows you to sell and a little bit about their demographics. That way you can be sure that you're not breaking any of Depop's rules, and you'll up your chances of making sales if you're posting stuff that their customer base is actually looking for. On Depop, you can sell all clothing and shoes, of course, all sorts of fashion items and accessories, and they do allow all departments, men's, women, and kids. You can sell home goods and home decor stuff. You can sell beauty products only if they are unused and they're completely sealed. You can sell some accessories and some toys too, and a little bit of other miscellaneous stuff. I will leave a link in the description of a list of things you can and can't post that's more detailed. Now, as for Depop's customer base, there is a lot of millennials on there who do shopping, and I'm sure some older people than that too, but their main customer base is Gen Z, which is the younger generation, ages from about 16 to 25. And they are there to find trends, unique finds, and throwback type fashion. I'm not saying that's all you should post or that those items are the only kind that will sell. I post all of my items on all 3 of my platforms at the same time. Even if they fit the Depop aesthetic or not, it still goes up there. And I do still sell things that would be considered more for mature customer bases, but 80 to 90% of the stuff that I sell on Depop are more Y2K retro type things. So don't hold back, post what you want. Just keep all of this information in mind as you're doing your sourcing, because it'll help you pick up things that are more likely to sell faster on that site. Now let's get to where to get your items. The number 1 place is your own house. That's the best place to start because it gives you the opportunity to practice all of these steps we're going to be talking about today without investing anything. Quick word of advice though, just because the stuff is going to be free to you because it's your old stuff, that doesn't mean you should post junk on Depop. If you're going to be posting your own personal stuff, make sure that it is still in very good condition and that anyone who buys it would be very happy to receive it. You don't want to risk getting a bad review by sending things that are questionable. As a brand new account, that's going to look very bad. You're not going to have that many sales yet you have bad reviews. If you're done posting stuff from your own closet, or if you don't have anything to post to begin with, then you're going to want to go out to look for stuff to flip. And there are many options for you. First and foremost, you can check out the thrift stores around your area. You can check out garage sales, flea markets, consignment stores like Buffalo Exchange or Plato's Closet. Just use Google to search up all of these things. There is another thing you can do called retail arbitrage, and that's where you go out and buy brand new things to flip and resell for a profit. But that route requires a lot more investment up front, so that's why I wouldn't recommend that for beginners. It's a lot better to start off with used shoes, clothing, or other things that requires a lot less investment while you're learning. Once you get a lot more experience, then you can start to explore that route. What sourcing spot ends up working best for you is going to depend on where you live, because every city is different. When I first started reselling, I would watch YouTube videos of other resellers sourcing and thrifting, and all of them or most of them went to Goodwill stores. But when I visited the Goodwills near me, they didn't have any of the brands that people would talk about online. But eventually I did find other thrift stores in my area that had all of those good brands. So just know that it may take you a while to find the right place where you'll reliably find good stuff every time you go. And if you want more help with this kind of stuff, you can go watch this video right here. Around the 6-minute mark, I do share a lot more sourcing tips and mistakes to avoid too. Let's move on to step number 3, and that is to prep your items for photos. I'm going to show you 2 photos on the screen, and I want you to see which one of these 2 would you rather buy. How about in these 2 photos? It's going to be the left ones, right? Those are the ones you would pick because those items look a lot more clean and a lot more presentable. And the items on the right could look just like that too, with a quick steam or some shoe cleaner. I do see a lot of sellers post things as is without any cleaning or very minimal cleaning, like those pictures on the right, and they still end up doing really well. They sell lots of stuff. So I guess this step is kind of optional, but I think that you can up your chances of selling more stuff and selling it for more money if you take the time to make your stuff look good before you post it. And you're also going to up your chances of receiving rave reviews like these. So let me show you what I use to prep my items. For shoes, I do have quite a bit of supplies in this little bin right here, but I'm going to show you what I use the most often. Starting with these black gloves. These are always nice to have if you're going to be doing a lot of shoe cleaning. I also buy some of these magic erasers. These work well for athletic shoes. Anything that has like a white midsole, it gets them looking very clean. Normally I buy the generic brand off of Amazon in bulk. I ran out and I needed some real quick that day, so I got this one. But it is more cost effective generally with almost anything to buy stuff in bulk on Amazon. These I also buy in bulk. They are bottles of Goo Gone. It is like a oil based formula that you spray on a towel and you use it to remove prices off the bottom of shoes or any sticky residue that may be at the bottom after you take off stickers. This works great for that. I use a lot of this. I do go through a lot of rags as well, and I like to buy the multicolor pack. That way I can keep one for the oil-based Goo Gone and one just to clean and wipe things. Brushes are going to be very essential for shoe cleaning purposes. I have all shapes and sizes right here. And another very essential thing in my shoe cleaning kit is this right here. It is a leather, let's see what it says, Wonder Balsam. It's like a leather cleaner, conditioner type thing. Basically, this is going to fade away any scuffs, and if they're very minor scuffs, it is going to take it away completely on most leather shoes. I buy a lot of leather shoes, so I do use this a whole lot, but I've been having it for a very long time and I still have just a little bit left. It's almost going to be time to buy a new one though. I almost forgot to show these. They are disinfecting wipes. They are the Great Value, which actually work a lot better than the name brand stuff like Lysol. Those fall apart, leave a lot of lint behind, so I always buy the Great Value disinfecting wipes. And most of the time the shoes that I buy, all they need is a quick wipe with these and they're ready to go. But there are times that I have to use all of the other stuff I just showed. If you want to see more detailed examples on how to use all of this stuff and many more things I use, I will leave a shoe cleaning video linked for you. In that video, I also share the system I use to judge whether a shoe is worth picking up or not based on condition before I even buy it. When I do post clothing, the main tool I use is this big steamer right here. It is a heavy duty steamer and it does a really good job, but the main reason why I like this one is because it has a huge water container, so you don't have to fill up the water every 5 minutes. When I used to buy the handheld you had to stop all the time to fill it up. It would leak as well, and they would stop working after a few months. That's why I decided to go ahead and just invest in a high quality one. So I suggest you do the same from the beginning if you can, because it's gonna last you a lot longer and work a lot better for you. The best case scenario is to never post anything with flaws, to never buy anything with the intent of removing stains when you get home. But sometimes it does happen by mistake, or maybe the brand is so good that that stain doesn't matter. In those instances, you are going to need something to remove those stains. One thing I have here in this kit is this Grandma's Secret spot remover. So I will use this sometimes on clothing or shoes if they're made of fabric. But another thing that works really well is baking soda and Dawn dish soap. I have this container here set aside that I use specifically for this purpose, and all you do is add a few drops of Dawn dish soap, a little bit of baking soda, some water, and then mix it around until it's like a paste. Then you're going to take a toothbrush like this one, mix it around, and then add it to the spot. Maybe you want to test it in a area of the item that's not too noticeable, but for the most part this should work well. You just let it sit there a little while, throw it in the wash, and the spot should either be really faded or it'll be gone completely. Aside from those two things, the steamer and spot removers, the other thing I use for clothing and for shoes a lot are these lint rollers right here, which again I buy in bulk, and that's pretty much it for clothing. It's a lot more simple than shoes. With shoes you do need a lot more supplies if you're buying them used. Once you have your items prepped and looking real nice, then it's time to move on to the fourth step, taking your pictures. First, we're going to talk supplies for taking pictures, and then we're going to get into some very important photo tips. First, very important thing you're going to need for your pictures is an all-around neutral colored background. This is what I'm working with right here. This used to be a bright blue colored desk, as you can see right here where it's starting to peel off, but I bought this contact paper on Amazon. It is a light gray color paper. I like this one because it makes the whites pop better than if it was just a white covering here at the bottom. This is just like a large sticker, and you just stick it over anything to make it a neutral color. Before I did it this way, I would just use Elmer's glues, tri-fold large cardboard boxes. I would just use a couple of those to create my all-around white background. And for clothing, I do have a thumbtack here. You can't see it, but when I do take pictures of clothing, I just adjust these lights so they're not in the way, and I hang up the clothing on the wall, and that works as my neutral color background for my clothing pictures. So those are just some of the options you have, but I'm sure you'll find many more ideas and creative things to do to create your all-around neutral minimal backgrounds for your photos. You can just search it up on YouTube and you'll see other people's setups, get ideas from all of them, mix and match so that it works for you and your space. But whatever you do, just steer clear of any messy or cluttered backgrounds. Also, don't use flowers or props or anything like that, or AI generated backgrounds. Avoid those too. All of that is unnecessary and it takes up time to edit all of that in. Really, all you need for your pictures is the item you're going to be posting, your clean, nice looking background, and some good lighting. When I first started reselling, I would just use natural light. This window right here on the side of my setup could work out just great, for example, especially if I opened up the blinds. Right now that it's sunny out, a picture here would turn out just great. So if all you have is natural light right now, it's totally okay to start off that way, but then you're going to be reliant on the sun being out in order to take your pictures. That is why eventually I upgraded to these lights right here. These are by a brand called Newer, and you can find these on Amazon. I have two, one on each side. I have them adjusted so they're tall, and then I have them leaning over so that they light up my shoes perfectly when I'm taking pictures. Another very essential thing you're going to need for your pictures is obviously a camera. But if you have a smartphone already, then you're good. You don't need anything fancy. The cameras on these phones work just as well, sometimes even better, and it's a lot more convenient because you already have it most of the time. But to make your pictures even better when you're taking them with your phone, something I recommend you do is go onto YouTube and search up picture tutorials for your type of phone. Put your phone model followed by the words photo tips, and I bet you're going to find many settings that you didn't know about before that are going to make your pictures that much more clear and professional looking. That, along with your good lighting and your good background, is going to put you ahead of 99% of other people on Depop when it comes to photos. Another thing you may need are some sort of measuring tools like a ruler or a fabric measuring tape for clothing. I don't care what anyone says, putting measurements in your listings is very important because clothing fits different depending on brand, and it's hard to gauge platforms or heels on shoes just by looking at a photo. When I have the intention of buying something but there's no measurements anywhere, I do message the seller to ask them about it, but in the meantime I'm checking out other options. A lot of the times those sellers never even get back to me, and I don't blame them because who would want to take time in the middle of their day to take out an item and measure it for someone who may or may not buy? And then there are some that do end up answering me, but sometimes by the time they do, I've already found something somewhere else by another buyer. Don't let that be you. Put your measurements in your listings, whether it's in the pictures or in the description, from the very beginning. For me, the most efficient way to take my measurements is to do it while I'm taking pictures. That follows the Ohio rule. Only handle it once. You already have the item out, it's in your hands, so do everything you need to do with it now so you don't have to handle it again later. For shoe measurements, all I do is place this ruler right behind the heel and snap a picture of that, upload that with the rest of my pictures, and buyers can see the measurements there. In the description, I tell them, look at the photos for measurements. For clothing, I use this fabric measurement tape. I measure all of the measurements I need, and then I record those measurements in these size charts that I made right here. I have some for pretty much all types of clothing and even some for purses. The reason I like using these is because then I don't forget anything, since I already have all the measurements I need for each item right here. And then all I have to do is take a picture of this size chart along with the rest of my pictures, upload all of that, and then customers can see the measurements there. We are going to dive a lot deeper into shipping later on in the video, but for that you are going to need to know the weight of your package so that you can know how much to charge buyers for shipping. And since I know I'm going to need that information later, again, using the Ohio rule, since I already have the item out, I go ahead and record the weight of my item packaged as well when I'm taking pictures. So if you're going to be selling on Depop, you're definitely going to need a little scale like this one. There are many inexpensive options on Amazon, or you can even buy one at Walmart or Target in the kitchen section. One of those food scales would also work. Now remember, I said that the weight has to be of your packaged item, so that's why I have these two boxes here next to my picture setup. For small shoes, I place this box on top of the scale first, then I will put the item here when I'm done taking pictures, and this is the weight I snap a photo of to have for later. If it's a larger pair of shoes, then I use this larger box to weigh my item as I'm taking pictures. And if it's just a piece of clothing, it is going to go in these very thin polymers, which don't add that much weight. So in that case, I just put the item right on top of the scale and take a picture of that weight. And by the way, those pictures of the scale, I don't upload to my final Depop listings. I just use it to reference it later as I'm creating my listing. I do have 3 more things to show you, but I feel like these 3 things are completely optional and not absolutely necessary, especially for beginners. Not as much as all of the other things I've been showing you. One is the shoe inserts. They're clear acrylic inserts that you put on sandals if they're super strappy and it's hard for them to stay upright as you're taking your pictures. These can be helpful. The other thing are these poly bags. I use these to store my items. Right after I'm done taking pictures, they go straight into this bag along with a SKU number so that they're easy to find when it sells. But those two things, the poly bags and SKU numbers, aren't going to be all that necessary until you have about 100 items or so. If you just have a handful of items right now, you can just keep them stored in a safe spot in a bin somewhere. Then when something sells, it'll be very easy to find with a quick glance. When you are ready to learn about an inventory system, you can check out my video. I made all about it. It is very detailed. I explain how I use all these shelves and boxes and the SKU numbers I just showed you. So those are all of the supplies you need to take your pictures. Now we're going to talk about some tips to take your pictures to the next level so that they are the highest quality possible. The very first very important tip I have is to make sure you're taking your photos in a square format or in a 1:1 ratio. I have my camera pulled up here. I do have an Android phone, so this is probably going to work different if you have an iPhone, but just Google it. It should be a very simple thing to find. For me to change the orientation of this picture, I have to click these 4 little dots on the right hand side. There I see that it says 9:16. That means that the photos I'm about to take are going to be in a 9:16 ratio. If I take my photos for Depop like that, they're going to upload weird. It's going to cut off part of my items depending on where the item is being shown on a computer or a phone. In order for my pictures to show up nice, no matter where a buyer is viewing it, I have to change this. I'm going to tap on it and put a 1:1 ratio. That will make that screen into a square. That's how you want to take all of your pictures, and you always want to double make sure that that's the setting you have set on your phone before you start taking pictures, because it is the worst thing ever for you to be done taking pictures of a whole batch of items only to realize you were taking them in the wrong dimension the whole time. As of right now, Depop does allow up to 8 photos per listing and 1 video. I do recommend you use all of those 8 photos whenever possible, just so that you can make sure you're giving different perspective and angles of the item for the buyer to see. Since they can't feel or touch your item or see it in person, photos and descriptions are the only thing they have to go by to decide whether to buy something or not. So the more information you can give them in those pictures, the better. I don't, and I have never used videos on Depop. One of these days I'm going to get around to trying that out to see if it does make a difference in sales, but I've been saying that for a while, so who knows. How you use up your 8 photos is going to depend on the type of item you're selling, but one shot you do want to include for sure is a nice cover photo, because that is the picture buyers are going to see first as they're scrolling around and browsing around the Depop app. Another thing you want to include that's very important is the size, material, and care tag of the item if it has it. Make sure you're putting pictures of measurements like we talked about. If you're not putting it in your description, that is. You'll need a full picture of the front of your item, a full picture of the back, and if your item has any sort of flaw, big or small, make sure you're including a close-up picture of that too. One thing you don't want to include in those 8 photos is a stock or a model photo that was made by the brand you're posting. I've never used stock photos, I don't think, for clothing, but I have and do use them for shoes sparingly. But I do that knowing that it's risky and that my listing could potentially get flagged by Depop. Depop isn't as lenient as other platforms are, like Poshmark. On Poshmark, they never really say nothing about stock photos, but Depop does. They will ban or restrict your account if you violate that rule too many times. So I think your best bet is just to never use stock photos. Do as I say, not as I do, because I take that risk sometimes, but I probably should stop. This last photo tip I have for you is really more of a productivity tip, and that is to keep your photo routine consistent. And by that I mean to take pictures of the same angles in the same order every time. Keeping your stuff consistent with pictures is going to ensure that you never forget an important angle, and also it's going to help you get through your pictures a lot faster because you're not going to have to stop to think of what shot to take next. It's going to be sort of automatic because you do the same thing every time. You can even make charts like these so that you can know your photo routine ahead of time. I do sell on Poshmark and eBay, which is why you see more than 8 photos here. Still, I do try to make sure that the first 8 are the most important shots, since I know that those are the only ones that are going to go on Depop. I made these photo charts using Canva, but even if you write it on a piece of paper like this, it's going to be very helpful. Now we're moving on to the fun part. I'm going to be showing you how to create listings the right way so that they get the most visibility on Depop. First though, if you're like me and you took your pictures on your phone but you plan to list on your computer, you're going to have to transfer your photos first. I use an Android, and for that all I have to do is connect this USB cord and I transfer my photos that way. They do also have these cables called Lightning to USB for iPhones. You just connect one side to your phone, the other to your computer, and you can transfer your photos that way. Another option you have is to start your listings on the Depop app, save them as a draft, and then you can finish them later on your computer. If you took your pictures with your phone and you're planning to list on your phone too, then you're good to go. I am going to be showing you on the computer, but it should still be very easy for you to follow along. It's basically the same thing. I just think it's a lot easier and faster on the computer because there's a bigger space and you can have multiple tabs open at once. I have my photos uploaded and ready to go right here on the right hand side, and I have Depop open on the left hand side, and I'm ready to start listing. Normally I don't create my listings straight to Depop. I usually create them here on List Perfectly first, and then from List Perfectly I will click this share button and then share them across the 3 platforms that I sell on all together. But I know a lot of y'all don't have something like List Perfectly yet, and if you're just starting out, you honestly don't need it. So that's why for the sake of today's video, I am going to be listing straight to Depop. But if you are interested or ever are to learn more about List Perfectly, I will leave a full tutorial and a coupon code down in the description. When you're ready to list on the web version of Depop, all you have to do is click here on Sell Now. Next step is going to be to add our photos. I'm going to be listing the Western boots with you today. I selected the 8 photos I want to add to Depop. Now I'm just going to drag them over and copy them here. You can move these pictures around to change the order. Just click and hold and drag it over to where you want it. You can also crop your picture by clicking this little icon on the bottom right hand side of each photo. Move the square around to crop how you like. When I take my pictures, I like to make sure that they're centered so I don't have to worry about cropping them later. So all of this looks good to me. Pictures are ready to go, and now we get to the next section of the listing page, and that is the description. You see a blank box right here, but I want you to think of your description as 2 separate sections. The very first part is going to be your title. For the title, it's going to be the very first line. And just like photos, I like to keep my titles somewhat consistent. So here's what my title template looks like. Brand name. Sometimes I'll throw in there the style name if it fits. Primary keywords, gender, size, color, material, and then I'll add secondary keyword if the space allows. Sometimes I'll leave some of that stuff out, sometimes I add more. It just depends, but for the most part, I follow that formula. For some boots like this is how I would write the title. Matisse pointed toe Western boots, size 8, brown leather cowgirl boots. Writing your title like this has 3 main purposes. Number 1, it gives potential buyers a quick description of what you're selling right at the top. Also, the keywords that you use in this title, it's going to help them picture the vibe and how they might style it. For something like these Western boots, of course, it's obvious, but there are other things that have a more subtle fashion aesthetic that you can emphasize in this title. And then the third most important reason or purpose that these detailed titles have is that it feeds Depop's search system the info that it needs so that your listing shows up for the right buyers. After the title, next in my description, I add details. And here's where I elaborate on the accents, features, or any unique qualities that the item has. With descriptions, you do have two options. You can keep it short and sweet, just add the title, maybe a few more sentences, and you're done. The other option is to make it very detailed. I think both work, but I'm more on the detailed side, mainly because that's just my personality, but also because we use listing templates to create consistent listings. If you haven't noticed already, it's a major theme of how I run my business, off of consistent routines and templates. Let me show you what I mean. I told you earlier I like to start my listings here on List Perfectly. After adding photos, the next step for me here is to add a listing template. So for these Western boots, all I would do is search up that keyword. This is the template I would use for these boots. Once I select it, that will prompt List Perfectly to fill out part of my title and my description template as well. So whoever is listing that day will just go in and fill in any blanks that are left here in this description and in the title. I like to list with templates this way because it keeps all three of us, me, my son, and my daughter, on the same page, and it helps us not miss any important details. Another reason why detailed descriptions like these work better is because it gives me another chance to use even more keywords in a natural way as I'm describing the item, which, like with the title, it's only going to help this item show up in more places in search. Whether you go short or long, List Perfectly or not, I do recommend you using listing templates because if nothing else, it will speed up the listing process for you. I'll leave a tutorial linked for you if you want help making templates or knowing what to include in them. For now, I'm just going to copy this description and paste it over on Depop so that we can continue with the listing process here. A quick side note here, Depop does encourage you to add 5 hashtags in your description as well, but later down the listing, there is a spot to also add style keywords. So lately, I've just been copying and pasting those here. So for now, we're not going to worry about it. I'm going to scroll down to fill out the rest of the listing, which is going to be a lot more straightforward. It's not like the description where you have to come up with something from scratch. It's basically drop-down menus with multiple choice questions that you have to select. Starting at the very top, you're going to choose your primary category for your item. You can click here and scroll through to find it, but most of the time Depop gives me suggested categories here based on my title and my pictures that I've uploaded so far. Here's the one that matches mine, so I'll just go ahead and select that. Once I do that, it is going to open up a second box that says subcategory. Because I clicked on the suggested category, it already filled it out for me, but if you need to change it, you can click here and select something different. Sometimes an item can fit into multiple subcategories. When that happens, I'd say just pick the best one for now. You can always go back and change it later. If you see your item isn't getting that much attention or traction, you can come back and change it to see if that helps. Once you select your subcategory, you are going to see 3 more boxes: type, occasion, and material. The type of boxes that appear for you after you select your subcategory is going to depend on the type of item you're listing. But for these boots, these are the 3 things Depop wants to know about so that it can categorize your item in the correct places on their website. Below each of these boxes, you'll see a number here, and that tells you the amount of options you can choose. 2 things: only choose the options that actually apply to your item, but use the maximum number of options that they give you whenever possible. That's the overall message here that I want you to take when you're filling out all parts of this listing. Don't knowingly put false information, but put as much as possible, because the more information you give Depop about your item, the easier it'll be for them to match you up with people who are looking for your stuff, and all of that naturally leads to more sales. Out of all the platforms I sell on, Depop has the shortest brand list. They do have a lot of the mainstream brands for you to choose from here, but a lot of the times the type of brands I list aren't on here. So when that happens to you, you can just type in other and select this as your brand. And for condition, when you click this drop down menu, you will see your options along with a short description of what each one means. Go ahead and read through those descriptions and select the one that best describes your item. The last part here on this basic information section is to select your size, and then quantity, you're going to leave it as 1 unless you have more than one of the type of item you're listing right now. The next part of this listing page is the enhance your listing part. With these boxes, it's going to be the same deal as before. You want to choose what actually describes your item. For colors, you are allowed to choose 2 colors. If your item is more than that, then I'd say just choose the 2 main colors you can see on the item. And if there is a third color in there, I would just talk about it in the description. The only time you should choose this multicolor option right here is when your item is truly multicolor all around. I think that's the best way to go about it so that your item shows up in the right search result. Source means where did this item originally come from? Age is when the item was originally made. If you're selling vintage and unique things like that, maybe these 2 will apply more to you, but for me they don't usually, so I just leave them blank. This one here is very important to me though. Style tells Depop the fashion vibe your item gives, and again, it's going to help it put it in the right spots. It has a lot of curated pages all around the app and the web version, so when you select the right ones, your items will show up on those pages. If you don't know some of these styles, I would say Google them. That's what I would do when I was barely learning. Whimsy goth, for example, I would go to Google, type in whimsy goth. If I was listing a top, then I would put top or pants, but let's go ahead and put boots to see what Google comes up with. I'm going to go to images, and I will just look through here just to see what the type of item I'm listing in this style would look like. That's how I would do it when I got started. It would slow me down at first, but after a while you just memorize all these things and you start knowing them just off the top of your head, and then you're able to fill out this listing page a lot faster. But I did put together a style guide ebook that has lots of photos and examples of all the common fashion styles, so if you want to make it a lot easier on yourself instead of Googling every time, you can check out that ebook. It will be a huge shortcut for you. We are getting to the very end of the listing, but some of these things down here do require a lengthier explanation, but stick with me. Let's go over this boost your listing option. Here you have to decide if you want Depop to promote your listing or not. They do charge a fee for this, and later on I am going to break down all of the fees Depop charges you for selling, including this optional boosted fee, but for now I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of how boosting works. In short, boosting means Depop is going to place your item in top spots all over their app where people can see it while they're shopping. If a buyer clicks on a boosted listing of yours and they buy within 28 days, Depop will charge you 8% of the final sale price for that extra exposure they gave you. Depop doesn't have any seller fees like other platforms. They only charge a small payment processing fee. So I think the 8% to boost your items is a small price to pay to get more eyes on that item. I boost every single one of my listings, but it's totally up to you. We're going to skip right past this location section because this is pretty obvious, and when you set up your account you will add this information and then it'll automatically add it on every listing for you. This shipping part section isn't as obvious and a lot of new sellers get confused with it, but I'm going to break it down so that you get exactly how it works. When it comes to shipping, you have 2 options. You can ship ship using Depop labels, which is this first option right here. This is the most simple one and the one I recommend for all sellers to begin with. All you have to do is click this drop down menu and select the weight of your packaged item. If the item weighs below 4 ounces, then you'd pick this extra small package and the buyer would pay $4.99 for shipping. If the item weighs above 4 ounces, even slightly, then it's best to go with the extra small instead. You always want to round up when it comes to weight, because if you choose the wrong package size and then the post office flags it, either you or the buyer could get hit with an extra charge. Nobody wants that, so always round up and make sure you're choosing the right package size. If I was going with Depop label, here on my pictures I have my weight. It says 2 pounds, 9.4 ounces. So from this drop down menu, I would choose the extra large one because my package is not under 2 pounds. Now, when your item sells, Depop is going to add that shipping price to the buyer's total. Depop then uses that money to buy the shipping label for you, and they send it to you to your email so that you can print and use it. Now, when it comes to this other option, it is a little bit more complicated and it does involve a few more steps, but to me it is totally worth it because for heavier items like the shoes that I sell, labels are much cheaper this way, and it gives me a competitive edge because I get to charge less for shipping than other sellers. With this other option, basically you're gonna figure it out on your own. Instead of Depop giving you shipping price options based on weight, you get to set the price. And then when an item sells, Depop is gonna give you the shipping money the buyer paid based on the price that you set right here. They're going to give you the buyer's address too, and then you're going to take that shipping money and that address to create and buy your own label using a third-party shipping service. I use this other shipping option for all of my listings, and for some boots like this, I would charge $9.99 instead of $13.99. In the next step where we package an item together, I'm going to show you exactly how this other option works and also how these Depop labels work when it comes to time to printing the shipping label. There is a third shipping option which is worldwide. I haven't messed with that yet. Pretty soon I am going to test it out to see how it works, especially because I use Pirate Ship to ship my items. In the future, I'll make a detailed Depop shipping video and talk about this once I test it. For now, let's go ahead and finish off this listing by talking about item price. This is another part of the listing process that trips up a lot of beginner resellers. Normally, to figure out prices for my items, I search up similar items that are currently listed on Depop and see what listing prices those other sellers have. I come up with an average and use that as a baseline. To do that, we're going to need to know the style name of the item we're listing. If you know it, good. If you don't, you can always use Google image search to find out. Right click on a clear photo of your item that has the full view of it. Then click search with Google Lens. Here are the boots that I'm currently listing. I'm going to click on that. It's going to open up a new tab. I'm looking through her title and through her description to see if she has the style name. I don't see it. I'm going to go ahead and right click on her image and Google image search one more time. Here I see another listing with these boots and it looks like they do have the style name here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one, open it up. So they are not the same boots that I am listing. I try not to take too much time hunting down the style name. Since I can't find it, I'm just going to search using my own search term. So I opened up a new tab. I'm going to the Depop page. I'm going to copy the first part of my title and I'm going to paste it into the Depop search bar. Next, I'm going to use the filters to narrow down my search so that I'm looking at boots that are the most similar to the ones I'm listing. Now I'm going to view my search results now that they're more narrowed down with all of these filters right here. This is much easier when you do have the style name of your item. That way you're only looking at specific search results that match the item you're listing. But since I don't have the style name and I don't want to take the time to look for it, what I'm going to do is just look through these search results and make a mental note of what boots that look like mine are listed at. For example, here we have have these that are 85. These are 50. These are 85 as well. But these two are the same boots. It's just that these are boosted. So we have 85, 50. I'm not going to make note of these because they're ankle boots. Mine are mid-calf boots. They're taller. These are a little bit different, but since they're tall, go ahead and take it into account. Down here we have a few more. We have 145 and we have 149. These are a little bit different. These look like they're more high quality, more rare than these that I have. The ones that I have are a little bit more on the minimal side. So all of these things I'm taking into account. With all of that said, I want to say that the average listing price for these boots that I have is around $60. If your item is in great condition, especially compared to the others that you see listed, I'd say go ahead and list on the higher end of the average listing price you're seeing. If the item is similar condition, maybe you can list in line with the average that you're seeing. Also, keep in mind that you should price your item slightly higher than what you intend your final price to be. That way you have plenty of room to send offers to likers or to accept any reasonable offers that come your way. Going back to the Depop listing page, I'm going to go ahead and price these boots at $58.99. That pricing explanation was very general and there wasn't that many search results to go off of, but it's a great starting point and it gives you an idea of how I usually do it. But I did make a whole video on the topic where I share 8 pricing mistakes to avoid and other research tools you can use to come up with even more accurate prices. And that brings us to the final stage of listing, and it is to just post your item. If you're only listing this item, go ahead and click post so that it's live for sale on Depop. If you're going to be posting another item after this, select this box first and it's going to open up a fresh new listing page for you. If you're not ready to list this item yet, you can go ahead and save it as a draft. It is now the next day for me. I wasn't able to finish recording this yesterday. It got a little bit late on me, but let me go ahead and recap where we're at right now. By this point, you should have already listed things that people are actually looking for on Depop. Those things should have clear and clean photos with items that are prepped and clean. The titles and descriptions for those items should be filled with lots of descriptive keywords. The drop-down menus on those listings should have as many of the fields filled in as possible, and you should be researching similar items to figure out what's the best price. Along with that, you should be using the offers feature that Depop gives you when someone likes your item or accepting reasonable offers that come your way for your items. If you're doing all of those things, then you should start seeing sales come in pretty quickly, and that's when you can move on to this next step: package your item. We're going to cover everything from boxes and mailers you should use and how to figure out how to print the label to put on the package too. Let's start with the supplies. To know what kind of box or envelope you're allowed to use, you need to understand the shipping system first. Here in the US, there are 3 major shipping carriers. It is UPS, USPS, and then there's FedEx. All 3 of those shipping services also have lots of different options for you to choose from, depending on what you're sending. And all of those have different rules and regulations. The only company I'm going to be talking about today is going to be USPS, the United States Postal Service, because that is the only one I use across all the platforms that I sell on. If you're not going to be buying your own label and you are going to be using Depop labels, then USPS with their Ground Advantage option is going to be the only way you can ship your items, because as you see here, everything ships with Ground Advantage no matter the package size. And with USPS Ground Advantage, you are not allowed to use their branded poly mailers carriers and their branded boxes like these red and white ones. With Ground Advantage, you have to use your own packaging. You can buy poly mailers like these or plain brown boxes like this one at any store like Target or Walmart, but I find it a lot cheaper either on eBay or Amazon. But you can also use your own boxes that you have left over from like your personal orders. This one here is an Amazon box. I keep all of them and reuse them when I run out of my own packaging. If you select other in the shipping section of your listing, that means you're going to be purchasing your shipping label from a third-party service like I do with Pirate Ship. And with that, your options are basically endless. You can choose any of the 3 shipping carriers and you can pick any of their options they have available. But as I said, the only one I use is USPS, and that's because, as you'll see later on, it is the most convenient for many reasons. With USPS on Pirate Ship, I almost always go with Ground Advantage and use my own packaging like this, but there are times that I have to switch it to Priority Mail instead. And with Priority Mail, you can also use your own packaging just like with Ground Advantage, but one huge perk of using Priority Mail is that with that you are allowed to use their branded boxes and envelopes. They have them in all shapes and sizes, and they are available for you to order for free on their website. You just go to USPS.com. Under Quick Tools, you'll see an option that says Free Supplies. Click on that, browse through there, add any of those red and white options to your cart, check out, put in all of your information, and they will ship them to you for free. Another perk of using Priority Mail instead of Ground Advantage is that it does have a slightly faster delivery time. So that's when I use Priority Mail. When a customer asks me to deliver their item faster, or when I need to use the USPS branded boxes or envelopes. Sometimes I do have to do that because I don't have a box big enough to ship my Depop order, or sometimes I just run out of my own packaging completely. Then I rely on the red and white packaging and choose Priority Mail on Pirate Ship instead. Besides your boxes, another thing you may need to ship orders is something like this, brown packing paper or even tissue paper. I use this to fill up any empty spaces in the boxes, if there is any, just to prevent the item from banging around during transit. Another great use for these things is just wrapping your item so that it's neat inside the box and it's not just the item in there. So if you're not going to be using these poly bags like I do, then the tissue paper will work out great. Since I do use these, when I ship my item, I put it in there just like this and they're ready to go. For shipping, you are going to be using a lot of tape. I buy these in bulk, and I bought this gun dispenser just to make it easier when you're packaging a lot of items. This is helpful. That's basically it when it comes to packaging. Now, the last thing you're going to need to get this item out the door is your shipping label. So let me show you how that works. Let's talk printer options first. There are 2 options. The first one is just your regular paper printer. This is how I started, and when you use this, it's going to print your label on a 8 by 11 inch sheet of paper. You're going to cut the label and then use tape to put it on your box. That works just fine, but once you start making several sales a day, it can be more efficient to use a thermal label printer instead. The one I use the most often is the Dymo 4XL thermal label printer. I've been having this one for many years, and with this one you do have to have it connected to a laptop or a computer. I do also have this Bluetooth thermal label printer, and I like this one because it's a lot smaller, more compact, and it has Bluetooth capability. So all I need is an outlet, my phone, and then I'm able to print my labels from there. Both of these are going to print your shipping label on a 4x6 sticker piece of paper. So all you have to do is peel the back and stick it on the box. If you don't have a printer yet, Depop does give you a QR code to use instead. When you make a sale, they're going to send you an email. In that email, you'll have the PDF version of your label so that you can print it using your paper printer, but it's also going to have a QR code. And all you have to do is package your item, have it ready to go, take that to the post office, show them your QR code, and then they will print the label for you. If you're going to be shipping using a third party service like I do, it's going to involve a few more steps. So I'm going to go over to my computer and explain exactly how that works. So here's the sandals we have to ship. I do have these semi-small brown boxes, and I could put them in this box and then just fill up the rest with this packing paper so that there's not so much empty space. But since these are so lightweight, I will just put them in this poly mailer instead. And normally I do like to use bubble wrap instead of this, but I don't have any, so we've been using this packing paper instead. And I'm going to put it in this gray poly mailer that I did buy on Amazon and on eBay, so it is eBay branded, but I use it anywhere I sell items. I do have several sizes of these poly mailers, but I like to use these large ones when I'm shipping shoes, just so that I can fold it over. So now it has the poly bag like this one that it was in. It has the brown tissue paper, and it has this kind of like double wrap. That should be more than good enough. So now we're just going to tape it. Earlier when I showed that we needed to get the weight for the item as we took pictures, that weight is a little bit more of an estimate so that I can know how much to charge buyers for shipping. But now that we actually have the item and it's actually wrapped and ready to go, I need to get the exact weight. Again, you don't want to put the wrong weight because you're going to end up overpaying if you should be paying less, or if you should be paying more, you're going to end up getting an extra charge if USPS notices that the weight isn't correct. So let's go ahead and weigh it. It weighs 10.8 ounces, but remember, always round up. So I'm just going to say it's 11 ounces. I'm just going to go ahead and write 11 right here. And here's where my label will go. So I will cover this up later. And then we're also going to need the dimensions of this thing. So now I'm going to put on my package 14 by 8 by 2. And now we're going to input these dimensions on Pirate Ship to see what we have to pay. To get my shipping label for my Depop orders using Pirate Ship, first we're going to go to Depop. That takes me to this Seller Hub page. If I scroll down here, I can see the items that need to be shipped right now. I'm going to select one. That's going to bring up this little tab here on the right hand side. And here I can copy this address. Next, I'm going to open up a brand new tab and go to Pirate Ship. Once I'm signed in, I'll get to this page. On the side, I can hover over ship, and then you'll see the option that says single. That's the one I want. I'm going to click this blue hyperlink that says paste address and paste the address that I just copied. That's going to autofill these important fields right here, and the ones that are optional, I just leave blank. Then I'm going to scroll down to fill out the rest of the information. First, we're going to tell Pirate Ship what kind of package we have. I ended up going with an envelope, so I'll go ahead and click on that. We're going to say what the length and width is. It is 14 by 8. Since I didn't use a box, I didn't end up needing the height. Now we're going to add our pounds and ounces, 0 pounds and 11 ounces. And then we're going to scroll down here and get rates. They're going to automatically tell you which one they think is the best, but if you click this down arrow, you can see all of your other options. Maybe something is more convenient for you, or like I said, if a customer asks me to ship faster, then I'll select priority mail here instead. For this one, we're going to leave it at ground advantage, and then I'm going to click on buy label. Here is the tracking number. I'm going to click this clipboard so that I can copy it. Then I'm going to print the label. If you click this down arrow, you can switch between a 4x6 for thermal label printers or an 8x11 for the regular printers that we talked about earlier. I'm using the thermal printer, so I'm going to leave it on a 4x6. Click print here, print again. And the last step we have to do is go back and tell Depop what the tracking number is. Click on mark as shipped, select your shipping provider, mine is USPS, and paste the tracking number we just copied. Click mark as shipped, and that's it. Now you and the buyer will be notified of any updates or when it's delivered. One thing I do want to talk about is the shipping. I estimated that these sandals would cost $7.99 to ship. If I go back here to Pirate Ship, we can see that it only cost me $5.31. So the difference between those two is just extra profit for me. I get to keep it since my estimate was a little bit off. But the thing with that is that sometimes buyers buyers pay a little more, sometimes they pay a little bit less, and it all makes sense in the end. Now that you have your item ready to go, all packed nice and neat with the shipping label on it or your QR code in hand on your phone, it's time to send it off to the buyer. There are 4 different options you have to send this package if you are using USPS. The first option is obviously to go to a post office. If you're going to be using that QR code, then this is going to be your only option. You're going to have to wait in line. When you get to the clerk, just show them the QR code. They'll print out the label and there's nothing else you have to do. If you do decide to go into an office to drop off your package, but you did print your label at home, you can just drop it off at some kiosks that they have right there for you to do it by yourself. Or sometimes they'll have like these big bins where people who have their packages ready to go just put it in there so you don't have to wait in line. But you can wait in line if you want to. They'll scan the package and give you a confirmation receipt so that you can have proof if anything were to happen. The main thing that I want to make clear here is that you don't have to do anything else when you go to the post office because your label is already prepaid. The buyer already paid for it on Depop, or if you use Pirate Ship, you already paid for it there. So there's nothing else you're going to have to do or pay for. The second and easiest option is just to put it in your own mailbox. If it fits there, you can put it there and the mailman will pick it up when they drop off your personal mail. USPS does also have those blue little things all around town where you can put your packages in. That opening is a bit narrow, so only certain boxes and envelopes fit in there. So if you can't fit something in there, or if you have a lot of packages, there is another thing you can do, and that is to schedule a pickup. To do that, go to USPS.com, and again, under Quick Tools, you'll see an option that says Schedule Pickup. Fill out all of your information, tell them where you're going to leave your packages, and again, they will pick it up when they drop off your mail. We've come to the end of your journey with selling on Depop. The very last step is going to be how to get your money for all of your hard work. Before I go over exactly how you get paid on Depop, I want to break down Depop's fees so that you know what money Depop gets to keep and what will be transferred to your account. First and foremost, Depop doesn't have any seller fees like other platforms do. They got rid of it last year, so you don't have to worry about that part. What you will have to pay them is a payment processing fee. Right now, for US sellers, Depop charges 3.3% of the total sale plus 45 cents on top of that. And the total sale is going to include what the buyer paid for the item plus what they paid for shipping too. So let's say you sold something for $25 and you charge them $5 for shipping. That brings the total sale amount to $30. Then we'll deduct the payment processing fee. 3.3% of $30 is 99 cents plus the 45-cent flat fee. That would make the total payment processing fee $1.44. That charge will be taken out of the final $30 sale, which will now bring the new total to $28.56. And lastly, from there, you have to pay for the shipping label, whether to Depop or if you're doing it on your own through Pirate Ship. That amount needs to be accounted for. So now your final earnings, the money you get to keep, is $23.56. Now, if you did turn on the boosted listing feature on this item, like we talked about earlier, you're also going to have to pay an 8% fee off of those $30 on top of the payment processing fee. Using the example we have going, 8% of a $30 total sale is $2.40. Now, after the payment processing fee and that boosting fee, the new total for this sale is $26.16. From there, we have to take money to pay for the shipping label. So now the final earnings you get to keep for this boosted sale is $21.16. So that's how earnings work on Depop. Kind of complicated, but kind of simple when you break it down into simple steps like that. Now that you know how all that works, let's talk about how you're going to get this money from Depop to your bank account. As far as I know, the only way to get your deposits right now is through a bank account. You used to be able to use a PayPal account, but they're phasing that out, or it may be already phased out all the way completely. And for security purposes, managing and editing your payment details can only be done on the app. So I'm going to be showing you how to do it there. So go ahead and open that up, and then you're going to go to the little house icon. At the top, we're going to switch the tabs from manage to payments. Scroll all the way to the bottom of this page, and then you will see something that says bank account. I already have my bank account connected, but if you have a fresh account, you should see an option for you to connect your bank account, and then you'll just follow the steps from there. Once you have all of this set up correctly, as soon as you make a sale, take it to the post office and they scan it. That's going to trigger Depop to start releasing your funds. And you can see the status of your funds here on this page at the top. This sale right here, I took it to the post office yesterday. They scanned it, and that's when this amount appeared at the very top where it says your Depop balance. That means that Depop is processing this for me. The second step after that is that it's going to move to the bottom where it says available. That means it's still processing by Depop, and once they have an exact date of when you will receive your earnings, it's going to go down here to where it says next payout. So on Monday, June 30th, I'm going to receive this payout for a sale that I made a few days ago. This whole entire process does take maybe like 2 to 5 days, but the faster you take your item to the post office so they can scan it, the faster you'll get your earnings. Another huge topic that comes up when we talk about getting paid from Depop is taxes. That is a huge topic that would require an entire video to explain, and it varies from person to person, state to state, but I at least want to give you a broad overview of how this works and give you some places where you can go to learn more about it. When you do add your bank account information on Depop, it may ask for your social security number or an ITIN number. A lot of people get very wary about handing that information over to Depop, but that's just part of doing business with these online platforms. They need that number to report your sales to the IRS. At the beginning of each year around tax season, Depop will send you something called a 1099 form if you make above a certain threshold in gross sales. That threshold amount does change from time to time, so I will leave the IRS page where they talk about 1099 forms and how they work linked in the description. To file your taxes for your Depop income, you're going to take that 1099 form to a CPA or a tax preparer along with all of the expenses you had throughout the year to run your shop. And from there, the tax preparer or the CPA will handle the rest. If you want to learn more about filing taxes as a reseller, here's the guy you should check out. His channel's name is Not Your Dad CPA. He has a lot of helpful videos on his channel, and he also does interviews with other resellers on their channels where they answer all of these different questions that resellers have. Those are really helpful too. I will link them in the description as well. Once you do have your shop created and ready to go, make sure you come to the comments of this video and drop a link. If you have any questions about anything, leave it in the comments too. I'll get to you as soon as I can. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.